Hi everyone, so you're here because you want to learn how to make a smooth camera transition from third person to first person while you're playing, not one that jumps instantly. Now, a little bit like this, we'll just spawn in here so we can sort of move in like this. Now we're in first person, we can sort of look down and see ourselves like that, and as we move we can sort of seamlessly move in and out like that. So that's the effect we're looking for. Now before I go on, I just want to stress that this might not be what you would call true first person, because I'm not attaching this camera right now to any socket. So you can see as you move it's very smooth. Now I personally prefer this, but you might want a game, where you're bouncing up and down as you walk, and every little step and movement is reflected in the camera. Well, that's not happening here. You can actually probably add on to what I'm doing here to make that happen, but that isn't it. Okay, so how do we get this effect happening? And by the way, I did see a few more tutorials on this before I made this little setup. And they're a little bit long and convoluted, I thought. I thought they didn't need to be that complex, and so I've sort of made a far simpler way here, which I think is fine for my purposes. So what do we do? Okay, so first step, if you're new to Unreal Engine, we want to open up our content drawer down here and open up our third person character, which you'll find in here. Now you may already have a character, you probably do if you're looking to do a tutorial to do this. But anyway, we'll open up your character or your third person character. Now you'll find code in here related to general movements of your character. These are some pretty basic ones: jump, left, right, and your forward axis, which is usually the x-axis, governing the forward movement, running, walking, etc. Very basic stuff, which you add to in Anim blueprints and multiple other places you can add to if you want. But this is the basics, and this highlighted one here, this commented one here, that's it. That's the entire code that makes this transition happen. It's pretty simple. So what I'm going to do is actually delete all this so we can go through it ourselves and start again. So I'll just compile that. Now, looking in your viewport at your character, you'll see I've only got one camera set up here, and you'll see that the camera is a child of a spring arm. So the spring arm, if I move that up and down, you'll see that the camera can move up and down because it's attached to it. Now if you haven't got a spring arm, you can go up to add components, just click add, search for spring, and you'll find it. There it is, spring arm. You can drop that in, and you'll have that there. Just make sure that the spring arm is below the mesh and the camera is below the spring arm. So once we have that, we can change the distance of the camera along that spring arm from the character, and that is over here, target arm length. So at the moment I've got it set to 250, which I kind of like, but you'll see if I set that lower to 50 or something, we can bring the camera right up close. Now there's another way we can do that. I'll put that back to 250, and that's simply by shifting the target arm itself. Now you might notice I don't have the target arm set here to the center. I have it a little bit forward, and that's a bit arbitrary where you place that. And the reason for that is when you look down at the character, if you have the beginning of the target arm like set at 0 here, if I set that axis to 0, you'll be looking down into the body. So I prefer to bring that out a little way, and that's going to be just your choice as to how far out you want that. Depends what your character looks like, how big it is and all that kind of thing. So I'll have that about there. I try and have it around about in the center. I usually eyeball that one, but you can use your coordinates there if you want to do that. So I set it to 250, about there, and that's it. So we'll compile and save that. We'll go to our event graph. Now you don't need to do this next step. All I'm doing is I'm going to create an event begin play. And the reason I'm doing that is to just maybe set the spring arm length before anything else happens. And you may have reasons you want to do that. Might want your camera closer or further away for some reason, don't know, but you could do that here. So what we need to do is search for target arm length, I think it is. I can't remember. Now it's not going to be under context sensitive. So unclick that, and then you'll see it here, set target arm length. So just bring that in. And the target we need, which is the spring arm itself, so you can just drag that in and connect that up. And yeah, like I said, you can set that to anything you want. I mean, we've already set it in the details panel of the spring arm itself, but I'm going to set that here just to 250 again, just for the sake of it. Now, you don't need that, of course, but I'm doing it. Now, the next thing we need is some sort of action input here to make the event happen. So if we go to our project settings and scroll down here to input, we can find action mappings and axis mappings. Now, if you haven't got an action mapping for this setup, you click on the little plus sign here, and that'll open up a new little bar here for you to type in a name, such as what I've put here, toggle perspective. This is one I made earlier. And then you will click this drop down box, and you have all these different platforms here, Android, Xbox One, Steam, etc., where you will assign the various buttons and keys and things that you want to make this happen for every different platform that you're designing for. So I'm only going to do this for PC, so I'm only going to worry about the keyboard for now. So I've done that already, and I have signed, or I should just say, if you open all of these up, then you'll have a plethora of options underneath that. I've already done that, and I'm assigning the F key. A shortcut is to just hit the keyboard. When it turns yellow, you just actually hit the key on the keyboard, and that'll assign that automatically. So having done that, we'll go back into third-person character, and I can now search for that action that I made, which was called toggle perspective, and I can bring that in. So we have two options here, pressed and released. Now we can make it so that when we press one key, the camera zooms in, and then when we let go, it comes back out again. So if you're looking for just a temporary option that happens quickly, that you can let go of quickly, then that would be the one for you. But you can also add a flip-flop node in here, so that when you press it once, it goes in, and then it will stay there for as long as you like until you press it again. So I'm just going to add that in now, just for the sake of it. You don't have to do this, so just search for flip-flop and put that in. Now, the next thing we're going to need is a timeline, and the timeline will govern how long this event takes to happen. So if you haven't made a timeline before, you might want to do a little tutorial on that, but really they're not very hard, and you'll just get the hang of it if you've never done one before by watching this. They're pretty simple. So we'll search for timeline, add timeline, and there it is, and we'll put that in. And you can call it something if you want. I'm not going to bother right now. And then the first action of the flip-flop we'll put into play. Now we need to actually create this timeline. So we will double-click on it, and it will open up a new section here. Now there's nothing here. We need to create a track. So we'll go up to the track button here and press plus. And we need to add a float track, because we're trying to add a value here to govern the length of the target arm, or the spring arm. So we'll add that, and you see we now have a little graph here. Now that graph is time on the horizontal and value on the vertical. So at the moment it's automatically set itself to 5 seconds. I'm just going to change that to 1 second. Hang on, take my numbers lock off. And just try that again. There we go. So 1 second. And what we need to do is add 2 keyframes, one for the start and one for the beginning. So we right click and we go add key to curve float. Now it adds it randomly wherever you click, but what we then need to do, if it's highlighted, which it is set the initial time, which will be 0 for the start, and then the value, which we want it to be 250, the longest value where it's going to start from. So we'll put that in, hit enter. Now we've lost where that keyframe is. In case you're wondering, it's there, but you're going to have to scroll out a long way to see it. There it is, because we put in a high number there. So I have to scroll out. I know there's a shortcut for that somewhere, but I don't know what it is to scroll out. Okay, then we need to set the end of this time frame. So we'll add another keyframe, and again we'll set the end to 1 second. And the value this time will be the very start of the target arm, which is 0. So we'll put 0 in. And there we have it. And if we were to scroll out, it doesn't look like it at the moment. That line would be sort of gradually heading back towards the first one, the first keyframe. Okay, so that's all we need to do. We've got that. We can give the track a name up here. So I'll just right-click and rename that, and I'll call it transition. You don't have to do that, but if you have a lot of these, it saves some confusion. So compile, save. We go back to our event graph, and we now see that new float track that we just added is here in our node called transition. So we have that. Great. Now, what do we need to transition? We need to set the target arm length. So we can copy that, paste that here again, connect up our execution line, and now we can, the transition of the target arm length here, instead of being 250, will be governed by the timeline. So we'll pop that in there. And we need the target again, which is the spring arm. You could connect from there or just bring another one in. And there we go. And that is pretty much it. Oh no, that's not it. Because when we flip-flop, like when we hit our key the second time, we want this process to reverse. So we have a little node here, a little input here called reverse. So on B, we will connect that up to reverse. And now we'll compile and save. And that should work. So let's spawn in. And let's see if that works. I'm hitting F. Oh, there we go. And not going out again. Now, why is that? Hit escape. Let's have a look. Why are we not going out again? What have we got? Toggle perspective, flip-flop, play, reverse. Might have been something in the timeline. Let's have a look at our second one. Time 1. Oh no, time value 0. That's an interesting one. That should be right. Should it not? The first one, time 0, 250. The second one, time 1. The whole thing's 1 second. That's an interesting one. Why would that be happening? Let's have another look here. Play, update, spring arm, A, B, reverse. I don't know. Seems like that should work. Try that again. Press F once. Oh, I know what's happening. It's going off my left mouse button. I've accidentally clicked something. So if we go back into project settings, there we go. You see, I've actually put the left mouse button in instead of the F key. So we'll open that up. We'll just scroll down, go to the F key. There we go. That's it. That was the problem. Go back in here now, and you'll see hit F. There we go. Right, there you go. That works. Now, when we look down, maybe that's about right. You want to play with that. Depends where you put it. That's okay. I don't have any actions here with the hands, doing anything to sort of show us what that looks like. And of course, you can put this. If I just go out of here and go back into our viewport and hit the spring arm, a lot of people like to put their camera off to one side a little bit and maybe up a bit. If it's a shooter game, you don't want the head getting in the way when you're playing. So you sort of, it's kind of hard to tell, but you see you're off to one side here. And some people like that, totally up to you. Anyway, that is how I did it. So if you see any problems with that, or any ways that it can be improved, etc., just let me know. Cheers. Bye.